everyone. My name is Magriet Mouton, and I am with the Being Human group here in South Africa, currently sitting in Johannesburg, speaking to Marius van Loggenberg, founder and CEO of Berg Leadership. Marius, welcome to Living Your Strengths today.
Thank you, Magriet. It's great to be with you.
Marius, so we had an interesting conversation just before we went live. You started your business, was it around February, March, this of 2020?
Well, I've been running my business sort of as a side hustle for a few years, and sort of towards the end of 2019, I decided I'm going to give it a go full time. So at the beginning of January, I resigned, and I worked my notice. My last day of notice was in April. So my business started in the middle of our lockdowns in South Africa with the coronavirus hitting us. So it's been an interesting time.
Wow. Well, Marius, you know, it's not just an interesting time. I think for many, it was a very scary time. Starting a new business, you know, so you don't have to only deal with the emotions of starting a new business, but now the coronavirus became a worldwide pandemic, and suddenly we're in lockdown.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the big thing is, overnight I had to, change my approach. Firstly, I had clients already and so on, but everything changed overnight. So all of a sudden they're not there, or it has to look different when you work with them. And, you have to find new strategies, new ways of working with people. And, you're far from everybody. So how do you create an online presence all of a sudden? That it's a new business, so you have to sort of get yourself going and be in people's screens now. You don't have to be in their offices now; you have to be in their screens. So it's a different ball game, and it's been quite a adapting process, I would say, definitely.
What is now the company that you started is all about leadership. It's called Berg Leadership. Yeah. And
yes.
Well, let me just say, it almost has the resemblance of climbing out Everest, the Berg of Everest. When starting a new business in the middle of a pandemic, why did you choose that name?
Well, I think there are two reasons. My surname is just too long to put on a letterhead, van Loggenberg. So that's the first thing. So I just use the last bit of it, the Berg part of my surname. But I am a hiker and a climber, and we did Kilimanjaro here in South Africa a couple of years ago. So it's a bit of a metaphor for me as well, as to how leadership works and how relationships work. The climbing and the being at the summit only for a few minutes and then having to descend again. So there's a lot of a lot of meaning in it for me, and because of my life experiences and everything that I've been through. And leadership for me is just I discovered the word leadership only sort of in my early 20s when I started working, and I've just learned so much about it, and it's always been something that's interested me. I've always led teams, and I've always been in teams and working with other people. I found that the biggest thing is you have to start by leading yourself. And that's where we always start, by leading yourself first. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself well. And, climbing a mountain, it's just you and the voice in your head when you're oxygen deprived. And then you have to sort of negotiate this journey with yourself. And I think that's probably the toughest part of leadership and of being a leader, is negotiating the voice, or sometimes voices, that are speaking in your head that you have to work with. So that's sort of the gist of it in a nutshell.
So Marius, what were the voices in in your head when the pandemic hit and, suddenly you need to change almost everything?
Well, I'm lucky. I think I've got in my personality, I'm very adaptable. So there's, something there that helped me quite a bit. But I think my biggest challenge probably was not having contact with people. I'm a very relational person, and just having to, I think, firstly learn how to read a room while nobody's in the room with you. You're in an online environment now, so to read a room, to work with a client or just an individual or a team, to see what's going on and what the mood is. I really depend on that physical contact, and that's something I've developed over the years. But all of a sudden, that's gone. Now I have to find a new way of reading the room, or seeing what the felt need is, sort of that tangible something that's missing. So there's something of that I think I'm missing it quite a bit. And also, I mean, being a relational person, I miss having people around me. So usually, no matter what kind of job you do, you've got people around you, and even if you're in the toughest working environment, there's always that the one or two people on the team that you sort of relate with, and it's nice to just see them and to have a cup of coffee with them over lunchtime and so on. So that's gone, and so I think the biggest thing, it's been easier to adapt with the business model, but it's been tougher to adapt, on the relational side. I think that's probably the biggest challenge. So the voice in my head keeps on saying to me, you need people around you, and I've had to learn how to grow through that, which is something that's very important for me, to still stay sane in the middle of everything as well. So yeah.
Whew. Now I can certainly relate to that, Marius. So that brings me to something that we've had some discussions about as well, and that's your strengths. When you say you need people around you, it immediately took me to your developer strength. And when we look on the screen, we can see that your top 5 Clifton strengths are developer, empathy, significance, maximizer, and belief. And 2 of those top 5 strengths are actually in the relationship building domain. So for me, it makes absolutely sense that you need people around you, and that you, and when you said you can read the room, that's definitely your empathy strength. That helps you to read the room when you have people around you, and they're not around anymore. They're on the screen. So
Sure.
how did you compensate for that?
Well, I think the idea that I can the belief side has really helped me quite a bit. Firstly, I think the idea of having a goal, knowing that I'm on the right track, sticking to what I've planned, even if it doesn't sometimes feel very sometimes it feels a bit counterintuitive to work this way, but to know that I've done my research and I've gone about it the right way, that's helped me quite a bit. But I mean, there's no getting around it. I miss people. It'll always be there. So I think the big thing has been to bring different things into my day, different kinds of conversations, and to have things not just be about work, but just have sort of moments of connection with people, even if it is online. I've gone out of my way just to check up on people, just to see, are they okay? Are they doing all right? In the lockdown and stuff like that, just to have a personal conversation, some of my friends and family members and so on. So that's really helped me quite a bit to, sort of feed that part of me. But I mean, the developer side is not just about people. It's also about things, and to be able to, for me, it's about seeing potential. So I get excited about areas that are untapped, and people that are have great potential. So those things really excite me. So I draw a lot of energy from that, and and for me to stay focused on that bit and to really keep my my vision and my thoughts on those sort of areas that really fuel me, it's been helping quite a bit. But at the same time, I miss people. I need them around me. You can't get around that. There's no replacement for people. You can't replace them with anything else. So I mean, that's just such an important part of being, a human being. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I love how you see that there's no replacement for people. Now, Marius, your developer strength, and let me just tell the people that's watching this show at the moment what developer is. So people with developer, it's actually what it says on the box. They love to see people grow, and growth is such a is what they bring to not only their clients, but also the people around them, the people that they connect with. And it's almost, it's got this picture of a father taking a baby by the hand and being there with them and helping them to take the first steps. How are you thinking about developing people, during this lockdown time? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I've been doing quite a bit of research on, and I think a lot of the clients that I've been working with online, it's been more on the emotional side. So, I mean, we've had to, I think collectively as human beings, we've had to learn new skills, and the skills of coping with loneliness and so on. So I think that's probably the area where I've placed the most emphasis on, and where I see the most, just the most questions coming my way. Generally, we've all spoken about this new normal that we're facing, and people adapting to that new normal, a new way of having relationships, a new way of doing meetings, a new way of planning, a new way of communicating, of listening. So those have been some of the key things that I've been working with people, and I've found that people can be in Zoom meetings or Skype meetings the whole day, but at the end of the day they can still feel very, very lonely and still feel like they haven't connected. And I think to help people to bridge that gap, there's probably been one of the biggest things that I've been working with people, and some of the bigger things that have come out, working with groups and teams and individuals.
Marius, would you share one nugget with the audience, how they can deal with their emotions during this time?
Well, I think the big thing is to be connected with your emotions. I find that for a lot of people, they came into the lockdown and a lot of things sort of were highlighted. It's not that the problems weren't there before. It's just that they've only noticed them now because all of a sudden everything's at a standstill. You're with the same people in the same house the whole time, and it's just you and your thoughts and you and your emotions. So I think the big thing is to realize that the things that you're probably working through or working with now have been there before the lockdown. You just didn't take the time to stand still and to reflect and to see that this is actually where my emotions are. These are my thoughts. These are my these are my hopes and my dreams and things. So I think firstly to acknowledge that those things are there. They probably were there before the lockdowns. And if new things have developed, just to understand what has been there that is new. So probably the biggest tool is then to connect with your emotions, try to understand what was there before the lockdown, try to understand what developed because of the lockdown, and then deal with it in that way, because the lockdowns are going to be over eventually again. The world might look a little bit different, but it's going to change again. So then we'll have to adapt again. So this is a new normal, but it's not forever. It's going to change again. So you're going to have to find a strategy for that. But the first thing is if there were issues before the lockdown, to not ignore them, because if they're still there, then it means that the realities and the things that are going on in your emotions and in your thoughts and so on they are very relevant, and you have to stand still and deal with them. And sometimes, and I find that most people are able to guide themselves. They're able to coach themselves, with reading a book or listening to podcasts or stuff like that. But quite often people do need a coach. They need a psychologist or a counselor. And I think the biggest thing that I can say to people is, if you want clarity, speak to someone and get clarity. Get someone who's objectively asking you the right questions to help you, to guide you to the place where you can get clarity as to where these things come from. And I find that the solution is in ourselves most of the time. We actually know what we should do. We just need to know what the real problem is and work on the actual real problem, and not, all these other things that we decorate it with, So, yeah.
Marius, you're so right, and you're touching on something that I think has really been emphasized during the lockdown. And I myself have been reading a lot about emotions and so on. And what I found is that the major emotions that comes out is sadness, fear, and anger. Those three has been felt so much during the lockdown, since that started here in March already.
Yeah, definitely. And I think those come because we've all lost something. We've lost something,
True.
We've lost a way of life, and we've lost a way of dreaming. We've lost money. We've lost something, and it's a grieving process. It's sort of a collective grieving that's taking place, and I think it's a reality that we all have to work with. And the positive side for me is this: that we're all in this together. As human beings, we're all feeling it. So, and this is the empathy side of me. When I see someone acting in a specific way, when you're at a supermarket, people are quite aggressive. I noticed, on the roads and over the phone and whatever. People are quite aggressive. And I think it's that anger and that frustration that you're talking about that's coming out. But just to understand that person is going through exactly what you're going through, and I'm probably also a bit angry and aggressive and frustrated when I'm, in my car or working with people and so on. So we're all going through this, and the empathy side of me helps me to understand, okay, this person is just like me. Puts me in a position where I can be sort of, create a bit of space for that person to just be. So we've got a bit of, we've got something to offer each other, and that's a bit of space. And, that empathy to sort of just be frustrated, be sad, be lonely, be those things. We can be those things with each other, and I think that's quite an important thing that we can offer each other.
I read in a book last night that emotions subside when we allow space for them.
Wow.
And I thought that was so beautiful. Marius, now you're using the word significant. One of your strengths is called significance, and people with significance feel that they've got a message to share with the world. They've got a legacy that they want to leave, and they feel that their message might mean something to the world. So what do you think is the legacy that you, with your work in Berg Leadership, want to leave?
Well, I think probably one of the first things is to that people can reach their potential. People are, as human beings, we are incredible beings put together in a specific way, and it's just fascinating. There's not a lot that we can't do. If we set our minds to it, we can do many things, whether it's as an individual or as a team. So, developing and reaching your potential, that's just something I want to see people do. And then as well, at the same time, I really believe that relationships are probably the cornerstone of our happiness. And I think all our joy and all our pain in life comes from relationships in some way or form, whether it's work or personal or whatever. And if I can just help people to understand how crucial our relationships are, in whichever area of life, and to place a greater emphasis on building and working and growing in our relationships, then I think I would have added quite a bit to people's lives, and I think that's something that I strive to, and that I always try to get people to focus on. I think the bottom line is, if you sort of surround yourself with certain people, and if you have certain types of relationships, the chances of you being happier, more fulfilled, and reaching your goals, and getting to the places where you want to go, the chances are just so much better. And I think those are probably the two things that I want to leave behind. So reaching your full human potential, and then placing an emphasis on this beautiful thing, this gift that we've been given, called relationship.
Oh, fantastic. That's so beautiful. And I also get the picture of your maximizer. People with maximizer love to take things from average to excellence, but they focus on growth, and they focus, it's the whole idea of potential. So with your maximizer and your developer, it's potential times 2.
Yeah. And I think the one side of it is to know when to say, okay, this is now good enough, because sometimes you just need to know, okay, things are good enough now, and to move on to the next thing. So that's something that I've had to grow in. But at the same time, I get excited with unfinished projects, or stuff that haven't started yet, or by looking at a person who is just so close to a personal breakthrough. So these things really energize me. So when I work with those things, it just does something in me, and I hope that that's something that comes up in me is something that is infectious, and that it influences the person that I'm working with or talking with, or anything like that. So that's I think it's a double whammy, but it's those two strengths, but they can make you tired at times, but at the same time they give you the equal amount of energy as well. So it just it sort of doesn't stop. And I enjoy sort of seeing them with me. And I've worked with a lot of maximizers and developers as well, in teams and groups.
Right.
And it's just incredible people, always challenging you, always taking you to the next level. And we need them in our teams, we need them in our groups, we need them in our lives.
Brilliant. I love that. As a fellow maximizer, I feel energized by what you just said. Marius, now the other side hustle that you have is that marriage officer. You also marry people?
Yes. I am a wedding officiant, and I well, I think that has also changed a bit with the lockdown. So shift, there's been a shift in focus from marrying people to counseling people who are already married, because a lot of things have sort of started happening in people's relationships. And when I say counseling, it's more in terms of having just sort of that development discussion within a couple's sort of relational life. So I love, again, it's probably the developer in me. If you stand there with two people wanting to get married in front of you, and they've got stars in their eyes, and they're all hopeful for the future, I can just see wonderful things happening for them. So it really is a beautiful place to be. And at the same time, we offer quite a few solutions and quite a bit of support for people who are in tough places with their relationships with each other, and to help them to sort of start communicating again, restore relationships where necessary. And then I also prepare people for marriage. So I call it a premarital coaching thing, where we talk through certain things about what's going to happen, because I think people they don't always know what to expect. They might be together for many years, but as soon as you say I do, there's something different that kicks in your commitment and in the expectation and everything for the future. And I love to prepare people for that as well, on all the different aspects, all the different levels of relationship.
Fantastic, Marius. So I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation this morning, talking about your strengths, starting a new company, with in the middle of the pandemic, focusing on emotions and how that can help people cope during the pandemic. And then if you need a marriage officer that can marry you over Zoom, speak to Marius van Loggenberg from Berg Leadership, that marriage officer. We can also follow you on Instagram and Facebook, right?
Yes, my websites are bergleadership.com and thatmarriageofficer.co.za, and we're obviously on all the social media platforms. We post quite regularly, write blogs, and sort of encourage people, post little videos and stuff just to get the conversation going. So you're welcome to just have a look at that and make contact with us.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Marius. Folks, if you'd like to learn more about your strengths and how that can help you not only work within teams, but also to develop yourself, visit our website at www.bhgroup.africa.